Yes, my friend, my good friend, you're deep on street again. Hey, that's a clip from a classic from Bob Marley. It is also redone or made, or I don't know how Buju Banton did it on his new album, which is called Upside Down 2020. The album itself is fire, people, and I have to go get the album. Remember, me tell you, get the album, then thank me later. All right, now I will start this off by reading someone's comment to you, just so it marinates in your brain, because I'm going to read that same comment again to you at the end of this story. Jamaican George Williams is freed after 50 years in prison without a trial. 50 years. Now, William commented, Maud Cooper 2 days ago said, he never even got a trial. They do not even know if they got the right person. They just grabbed some mentally ill person and threw him in jail for 50 years and said, case closed. Don't tell me they got the right man. No one will ever know, as this was a travesty of justice. The real killer may have been free for the last 50 years and could still be free right now. Charging someone does not make them guilty, as history has shown us time and time again. Let that marinate with you, all right? Now, in the Gleaner, the article said that George Williams had seen his first meal in 50 years. 50 years outside of prison walls on Wednesday, after a St. Catharines Circuit Court judge upheld a notice of abandonment in his murder case. Before I read the rest of this article to you, I must have you know that some snooping around and searching has been going on, and from credible sources, they have found about 7 people on the island of Jamaica that are in this same situation. Been behind bars for decades with no trial. Just accused of something, arrested, and has been sitting there ever since. Now, freedom time was the gray-haired man. This is all Williams could manage to say. Freedom time, as he emerged from the courthouse flanked by his niece Pamela Green, his brother Aldwin Jones, and his lawyer Isaac Buchanan. Isaac Buchanan himself, I may tell you, is the attorney that is also going to be representing Vybz Kartel before the Privy Council. That I will talk about in another video, because Isaac Buchanan himself has a story, and that as well we will talk about in another video. I am feeling so elated to know that after such a long time, he's finally out of prison, said Green, which is his niece, before making her way downstairs to greet her uncle. The 71-year-old had spent 50 years in custody without trial. Jones said that the first thing that he wanted to do for his elder siblings was to buy him a proper meal. We are going to take him to a popular restaurant and get him refreshed a little before taking him home, Jones said, wearing a big smile that radiated joy. The nolle prosequi or prosecu submission made by the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution, DPP, was expected, as Williams had languished in the penal system for an extraordinarily long time, said his attorney to the Gleaner. Now, Buchanan said that, this is his attorney, and he said that once all the parameters of the release were met, including a positive social assessment of Williams' immediate family members, it would have been hard denying the eventual outcome. People, all through this, may I remind you that this man was never tried. This man never had a trial. This man never had a lawyer to stand up to defend him in court, to say, hey, look at these evidence. He did not do that. He could not have done that. He wasn't there, blah, blah, blah. Nothing in his defense. He was just arrested and placed in prison. And he has been there for 50 years. 50 years. Long before I was born, this man went to prison. We are overwhelmed. Nobody can be as happy as George today, having his day in court. This is what I call swift justice, he said. Honestly, when the attorney said this is what he calls swift justice, I don't know if he's talking about from the point he got involved to the point where George was released, or if he's talking about the way the justice system worked and dealt with this case. Swift justice does not take 50 years. We are overwhelmed. Nobody can be more happy as George today, having his day in court. This is what I call swift justice, Buchanan said. He is now prepared to enter into discussion with the Attorney General on a process for compensation for Williams. Appropriate decision. In handing down the ruling, Justice Stephanie Jackson Hazley said it was an appropriate decision. We wish him well and that he reintegrates into his community and his family. And all I ask of you is to assist Mr. Williams in what reintegration process he has to go through, said the judge. Well, it's funny to me how them just dash away and then they're able to come back and say, if you survive that long, 50 years later, that we wish you well and we hope that you can reintegrate back into your family and into society. That's what you call wicked. That's what you call cold-blooded. But that's how the system deals with a certain class of people. Anyhow, Williams was facing 1 count of murder, malicious destruction of property, and wounding with intent charges. This was stemming from an incident that happened in 1970. He was arrested and charged with the killing of a Canadian man during a violent attack on the man's family while they drove through his hometown of Ivy District in St. Catherine. So I'm killing a tourist. That was what he was accused of. Now, may I remind some of you jumpy people again that an accusation does not mean guilty. And even if he was guilty, he was never given an opportunity to present his case before the courts, an opportunity to defend himself, to explain what might have happened, anything. They just went out, they grabbed a madman them call it, right? They grabbed a madman. Keep listening to the story. I'm going to tell you why I say madman, because this is the stereotypical thing we think of our people when them head chip, when them head lick, when them start walk road because they are going through some type of a psychotic break. In Jamaica, we call it madman. You know, say a madman that, or a madwoman that, rotted, Mr. James' son, Ricky gone mad, you know. Yeah, man, a madman, mad smaddy. That's how we talk about them. And our whole way of how we treat and handle people that suffer from schizophrenia or any other mental illness is something of itself that needs to be assessed and overhauled. But I'm just saying, in his case, they just grabbed a madman because a tourist get killed and he's from that area and he ended up in prison. DPP Paula Llewellyn said that her office felt sympathetic towards the relevant parties in such drawn-out cases. Well, sure you do, Miss DPP. Sure you do. It is for all stakeholders now to see how he can be put in a place that he reintegrates with the love of his family and the supervision of the mental health authorities, Llewellyn said. Our decision to discontinue the case has to be very transparent, she said, adding that her office made contact with the Canadian High Commission in an effort to find out if there were relatives of the deceased who sought explanation about their decision. The DPP said that time spent in prison meant that she was obligated to continue the case to discontinue the case because he would have served more time than dictated by sentencing guidelines. So they have guidelines out there that says if you're charged with murder and you're convicted and you're found guilty, then what kind of murder it was, how it took place. These are the maximum amount of years and the minimum amount of years that can be given for such charges. That is, or such offense. That is written into law, right? What I want to ask is this. Where were they when this man was languishing in the system for all those years? For all those years, 5 decades, where were they? At any point of his time behind bars, where were they? The DPP said that the time spent in prison meant that she was obligated to discontinue the case because at this point, he had served 50 years. When if he had picked up a murder charge, he probably would have gotten 35 years like them Gig Vibes Cartel, even though they didn't find no body or anything of this lizard, but he got 35 years, right? 35 years before eligible for parole. So this man would have done a whole 35 plus whatever else to make it 50, which is when he's getting out now. So he more than served time for. But the part that gets me is this. Before they even thought about letting him out, just on the basis of violation of his human rights, they had to go search Canada first to check with his family to find out if anybody in his family warranted an explanation as to why they had to let him out after 50 years. I think that is crazy as hell. Catering much to foreigners, I say. Williams' family endured jitters when independent psychiatric consultant Jeffrey Walcott appeared to differ with the assessment of Dr. Mayo Kiao-O. Mayo Kiao-O is a senior medical officer at Bellevue Hospital on whether Williams was fit to plead. Walcott told the courts that Williams was fit to plead after admitting to just one evaluation session as against the more than 20 that O had with the detainee. That's crazy. That in itself is crazy. He said that Williams, who suffers from schizophrenia, has been on medication. See that, people? So it's written again. He suffers from schizophrenia. It is documented. So the whole, oh, them go grab a madman, fling him in there, is exactly so. I am certain that his mental facets have improved since 1970 when he was incarcerated in a psychotic state. And I have to stop it right there. He was incarcerated in a psychotic state. So, someone that suffers from schizophrenia has a mental break, right? They're off medication, they need help, they all this other stuff, and you're thinking 1970. Think of how far we've come since then. I have to put that in there. But 1970, think of how primitive we were in dealing with what we call mad people. So he suffered a psychotic break of schizophrenia bout in 1970, and he was picked up while going through this crazy psychotic break. And he was incarcerated. She's saying that he has shown significant improvement and he does have some persistent psychotic symptoms, but they do not interfere with his ability to either engage or understand what is going on around him, Walcott said. Now, as far as that is concerned, I don't know, man. I don't know. But that comment, CVG14 says, doesn't matter what it means then. What's important is how it is being interpreted now. By whom? We just follow suit, which is another form of slavery. What it meant then was racist because those Italians were, I'm reading off of the wrong article here. Let me go and find the comment that I really wanted you to hear. And it says, he never even got a trial. They do not even know if they got the right person. They just grabbed some mentally ill person and threw him in jail for 50 years. and said case closed. Don't tell me they got the right man. No one will ever know, as this was a travesty of justice. The real killer may have been free for the last 50 years and could still be free right now. Charging someone does not make them guilty, as history has shown us time and time again. All right? Boy, Maud Cooper says, a man so mad he committed murder and was unable to stand trial, but he is being sent home from prison instead of to a mental facility for treatment. So what advice should we give to family and friends who suspect that someone may be showing signs of mental illness? Keep them home with free run-off sharp knives and other items that can be used as weapons? Welcome to our world. You could be surprised when you learned that freedom outside now is not the same as 50 years ago. Sometimes freedom just another word for nothing left to lose. Still, there is a victim and there is a family. Someone says, finally, now this man needs to be compensated as well for the state putting him through cruel and unusual punishment for a crime that he was never tried for. 50 years without a trial. This is wickedness at the highest levels. Now, I want you to like, comment, share, subscribe, leave your comments in the comment section below and all these things. Could the real killer be out there? Could it be a possibility that this man was never guilty at all? And what do you think about our system as far as mental health goes? I mean, a crime is committed, grab a madman, say him do it because he was in the area, he doesn't have the faculty or the finances to defend himself, fling him in there and let him sit there, and the family of the victim will be satisfied that they caught someone for the crime, so we can now move along with life. Leave your comments. I'll meet you there. See you on the next video with SouFLoTV. I'm out. Peace.